Guys, please watch this video to the end. It's going to be one of the most important videos we've made on the channel because this could send Bitcoin to $10,000. It could send it to $5,000. It could even mean the bottom might be closer depending on what happens with this vote that's coming up, okay? So you might have seen this, you might not have seen this, but there's been a proposition for BIP 361, which is to freeze quantum vulnerable wallets. That includes Satoshi's wallet, which holds over 1 million Bitcoins worth over $74 billion. Now, don't forget, if Bitcoin is to 10x, those Bitcoin are going to be worth $740 billion, nearly $1 trillion in value, okay? And it is going to create a lot of fear over time, one wallet having so much Bitcoin. So I quite like this. There's two solutions here. Either it gets hacked and it's gone forever, or it's frozen and it's gone forever. We're going to talk about that because there is also the option that someone does manage to get access to Satoshi's maybe he has more than one wallet, if it is frozen, okay? So this is very, very important, and this decision is going to get closer and closer. So to wrap it up, here's basically what it proposes. So BIP 360 passes activating post-quantum BTC addresses. Very important. We know quantum computing is getting closer. I personally think it's a lot closer than they're telling us. Why? Because watch what they do, not what they say. What are they doing? Nearly everyone is working on post-quantum protections all of a sudden, right? It was kind of dismissed as FUD and the banks will get hacked first, and now there's all these organizations that are setting up and people are making proposals, and mainly because Google came out and said that it's likely that quantum is going to be able to hack cryptography in the next 3 years or so, and likely it's only going to take a few minutes to do so, right? So it's better to be safe than sorry. We humans by nature are, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and it's good to see that we are finally taking steps towards this. I think it's a lot of the sell pressure has been, obviously we're in a 4-year cycle, it's very normal to see sell pressure, but considering the stock market is at all-time high and the disconnect between the stock market and Bitcoin, and I'm seeing a lot of on-chain data that's never happened before, right? We're seeing a lot of lack of adoption that we've never seen. And even during the bull run, we saw a lack of adoption. And I think there is a lot of fear around quantum. So it's really good to see that they are taking steps towards this. And I just want to get this out of the way. Whether it gets hacked or whether they freeze the wallets, I literally want to get it out of the way. But we're going to talk about both in this video. So BIP 360 is to sort out post-quantum BTC addresses. 3 years, so this is the second part of it, 3 years after activation, ban sending BTC to, okay, so not from, to any quantum vulnerable address types. Number 3, 5 years after activation, any BTC still in vulnerable addresses is permanently frozen. So that's 5 years after activation. Now, I've already mentioned to you guys that I think it's going to be a lot sooner rather than later. I know a lot of experts are saying 5 to 10 years away. We see the same experts saying that the same things every time about AI video. Look at AI video now. There was people saying, oh, AI will never be able to do text. Do you remember when AI images came out and they said, oh, people were saying it can't do text, it can't do that. Within 6 months, it was doing text better than graphic designers that have university degrees, right? So yeah, I'm a very optimistic about the rate of development and the rate of progression, especially as we potentially go into AGI this year or maybe AGI next year. And quantum computing and photonic computing, I think we're going to be accelerating way faster than the experts are predicting. But 5 years is a long time, and especially in our modern tech world, I think it's going to be too late. But hey, we'll look at that a little bit later. So still research being done on a potential rescue mechanism allowing owners of frozen coins to recover them by submitting a ZK proof of possession of the corresponding BIP 39 seed phrase, which still wouldn't help pre-2013 wallets those would most likely be frozen forever. Okay, so we're going to get into this. We're going to break it down step by step as we get towards the end of the video. I'm going to talk about two timelines, one where wallets are frozen and one where wallets aren't frozen. And we're going to look at the pros and cons, because there's pros and cons on both sides. And I'll normally have an opinion to start off with, right? And then I'll do research. And I think one thing I've been quite good at is being able to change my mind and having an open mind. I think especially in this space, you get people are so married to their opinions and their beliefs, and they don't want to switch their belief. For example, when Gareth Soloway was bearish at the bottom of the bear market, right? 12 months in, usually roughly where Bitcoin bottoms, all of the data was saying we bottomed, but he remained bearish. And I think because he took such a stance on being bearish, it was really hard for him to change his mind and change his opinion. And that's very dangerous, and that can put you in a loss. It can put you into very bad situations. And you're a lot better off holding your hands up if you're wrong, just saying, hey, look, I was wrong. Here's the reasons I believed in this. I was wrong, and now this is why I'm switching stance. Now, my initial response, because CZ came out saying, don't panic, all crypto has to do is upgrade to post-quantum resistant. And then all of this, it's FUD. He says this usual stuff each time and saying it's going to be easy. And then I posted saying, just upgrade to QR. If it was that easy, it would have already been done by now, right? I said there's a high chance that quantum Q data arrives before the many years it takes for BTC to soft fork upgrades, because it might take years to perform these upgrades. Then who is going to sit around and hope it all goes well with millions of their hard-earned cash on the line? I still believe in this, right? If quantum is potentially coming and these wallets are vulnerable, who's going to sit around and hope that everything turns out, right? If you're a whale that's been in Bitcoin for 5, 10, 15 years, you're probably going to de-risk. You're probably not going to leave $1 billion sitting in a wallet with the hope that it doesn't get hacked. All of a sudden, right, you might wake up one day, find out North Korea were actually well ahead of where we believed, and they've started to hack wallets. People are naturally going to de-risk, especially whales, institutions, smart money, etc. De-risking is happening as we speak and will continue in crypto assets. As for freezing people's assets without permission, doesn't this defeat the whole USP of Bitcoin, taking power away from other entities, having true ownership of your own capital? What is BTC if groups can get together and decide to freeze or burn your assets? Okay, so I still kind of agree with this opinion. Okay, I still agree with this. It's sad that we might get to a level now where we have to freeze wallets, and it kind of defeats the object of Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people are taking this kind of stance as well. I did notice there was a lot of comments that were sort of on that kind of same stance. I've changed my opinion a little bit on this, which we're going to talk about towards the end of the video. There is a lot of pros for freezing wallets and freezing the quantum wallets, and there's a lot of cons as well. Okay, so it's not really it's not an easy, this is the best route. I do like some of the opinions that have come out. Charles posted this the other day, actually, which kind of matched my initial opinion. Just take a listen to this.
It's a good day for me because it's a confirmation of every single thing I've been saying for a long, long time. And this industry finally has to wake up a little bit. I saw it the other day and I said, boy, I can't wait to make a video about this. 34% of the entire supply is vulnerable. And sadly to say, you guys are just going to have to deal with it. And I think Satoshi's going to be the loser. So, Bitcoiners, don't worry, your masters, BlackRock and masters, all the mining cabals and the others, they'll make this decision for you. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to make it palatable. And then you can go back to believing the things you believe, that you're sound money and you're the standard. I just don't like living in a world where it's sound money, but you wake up one day and your money's no longer in your bank account and no one's accountable and they can't reimburse you. That doesn't really sound like a good system to me, or a sound money system to me. But then again, I'm a shitcoiner, right? What the fuck do I know? It's a good day for
Uh, I love Charles, mate. He's a very smart guy. He's a very smart guy. I don't agree with everything that he does. He's also a good salesman. He's a really good salesman. But he said around 34%. I think he said 34% of the supply is potentially at risk of being frozen. And most people, I say most people who got into Bitcoin or really became attached to Bitcoin are very anti-establishment, and we love the idea of controlling your own money, not having these centralized entities controlling your money, telling you what to do with it, and you're able to go freely. And if you want to go to another country with $100,000, you can't do that with gold. You can't try putting $100,000 worth of gold in a suitcase and taking it to another country. Try taking $100,000 of cash into another country. It's not going to happen. Even a watch, they won't let you take a $100,000 watch into another country, but you can just fly to another country with $100,000 in Bitcoin and no one will ever know. That's very powerful. That is very powerful. It's very unique, and it's the first time in history that it's happened. It's a very beautiful system that you have this decentralized ledger with no centralized servers and no way for the CIA, governments to shut it down. Now, what Charles is saying here is that good luck giving your permission away to BlackRock and these centralized actors. So he's saying they're already going to make the decision for you. Now, that could potentially be true, right? There's a lot of power in Bitcoin now. Now the ETFs are here. Now the institutions are here. The banks are accumulating. Independent financial advisors can recommend it. There is a lot of institutional interest. The market cap is still very small compared to gold. I think gold pushed up to 40 trillion. And where's Bitcoin now? 1.5, 1.6 trillion or something. It could even be 500 billion market cap. It could even be 250 billion market cap if we see a quantum attack, right? So it is a generational moment that is approaching that we may never see ever again. We may see a complete reset of Bitcoin as it merges into a brand new Bitcoin, and we're almost at the start of it. People say Bitcoin's been around for 15 years, whatever. It's a tiny blip on the time frame if you compare it to other assets, especially if you compare it to gold. We are literally on really day one of, how long have BlackRock been accumulating? A year or so. It's day one of institutional adoption. It's day one of this asset that's now about to migrate into a new version of itself. And that's why I said this is one of the most important videos, because we're at the start of it, right? We're at the start of it. We're only seeing real world assets migrate onto Web3 right now. It's only happening in the last year or so, guys. We're seeing the transfer of wealth from traditional systems to new systems, and we're at the start of it. So we need to be all over this. We need to understand that there is a potential here where they can freeze these wallets and they could potentially freeze new wallets. As long as the upgrade doesn't give control to these entities, okay, so as long as it is just a pure and simple freeze the old wallets, my stance changed a little bit. And I don't see a world where we live in a centralized Bitcoin where BlackRock can decide to freeze wallets or the CIA can decide to freeze wallets, right? There still is a decentralized voting system, but it is possible that this upgrade is desired. It's desirable from all the whales. If you're a whale, why wouldn't you want to freeze Satoshi's coins, right? If you're a whale, you're massively reducing the supply of BTC. We'll do it at the end because it's better if we talk about it when I draw it out. But there's so many different pros and cons here. CTO Larsson posted this. This kind of changed my opinion a little bit. Okay, so BIP 361. To freeze quantum vulnerable wallets, yes. Okay, so CTO, he's a very smart guy, very, very smart guy, and I agree with a lot of the things he says. I don't agree with everything, but I agree with a lot. He says the alternative, is price dipping to near zero. I don't agree with that. I don't think Bitcoin would go to near zero if the supply was hacked. There would be a mass panic, absolutely. I don't think it would go to near zero. I will talk about where I think it would go. I think it would be close to around 10k BTC. There would just be an insane amount of buy pressure at 10k. It's a huge psychological number. There's a lot of support there. If it went to near zero, happy days. I'll definitely I'll take that. I'll DCA all the way down. That would be bad for Bitcoin's reputation. Yes, it would be bad for Bitcoin's reputation. Would it be over? No, absolutely not. If not freezing, say you know that 500,000 BTC will be market dumped tomorrow. What will you do today? You will sell today to buy back tomorrow. Okay, so very, very true. And this is what I said earlier, right? Who the hell is going to hold $1 billion in Bitcoin if we're literally waiting for it to drop in price by 70%, 80%, 90% tomorrow? So will everyone else. Will anyone buy today? No. So that's another problem. This is actually probably a good time to draw these. We'll come back to CTO's Larsson when we draw CTO's post when we draw out the pros and cons because this has been summed up very well. So there is no to little no floor. Price will wick down to impossible levels, then repeat again in a few days later for a total of 2 million BTC. Price will hit near to zero. The argument not freeze is to completely F over Wall Street, Sailor Treasuries and everyone else and start again from basically zero. So a lot of logic here. And these kind of posts are when I'm able to sort of change my opinion and think, hey, actually, you know what? He's got some valid points here. It could be really bad. There's two different scenarios here. And I tell you what, if it does get hacked eventually and all the quantum is wiped, it's great for us who are swing traders. It is really good for us who are swing traders. For stability and for the long-term growth of BTC, I still think freezing is probably going to be better. We're going to get into that pros and cons of why that is. NVIDIA, introducing NVIDIA's icing the world's first open AI models to accelerate the path of quantum computers. So we know NVIDIA have been getting into quantum, but they are really starting to push forward with powering quantum. There's a big emphasis on quantum. As you guys know, we're already invested in a lot of these top quantum computing stocks. You can join the Discord if you want to see what stocks we're buying and our strategy for those and where we think they are going. I still think they're massively undervalued. I think they're going to play a huge part in quantum computing going forward. And I think we are going to reach a stage where we will eventually see quantum computing that doesn't need these cold temperatures, that doesn't need these freezing cold temperatures. I think we're going to see quantum chips in time. I think it's going to be many years away, but this is the whole point of trying to forward think, right? It's not what's making money now. Where are the earnings? What's making money now? It's where do you see the future? Where is quantum computing going to be in 3 or 5 years? Because those people who understood AI and NVIDIA 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago made life-changing wealth, right? Absolutely retired from a small amount of money just from being able to see that, hey, these gaming GPUs, if migrated to AI, are going to be very important, and then they ended up changing their lives, right? And they had to be patient, they had to hold, they had to believe, and I do think quantum has a very bright future, and that's why I'm invested in it. So we can still see there's a lot of emphasis on quantum, there's a lot of research going on. The New York Times posted, following an 18-month investigation, very long time, has identified Adam Black as Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin. Back, did I call him Adam Black? Is Adam Back denies the claim that he is Satoshi. Now, if he is Satoshi, which we're going to talk about, if he's Satoshi, there's many reasons to not dox yourself, right? Because the CIA are going to be after you. Everyone's going to be after you. They're going to want to know everything. Where is your Bitcoin? Where is your seed phrase? They're going to want to know everything. And it is possible that Satoshi is alive. It's very unlikely that he has not moved the Bitcoin. It's worth $78 billion. It's possible that Satoshi, let's say Adam Back is Satoshi, he might have multiple different wallets, right? He might have been dollar cost averaging out. We've seen lots of wallets that were holding for 14, 15 years that have been selling and taking profits out of the market. So it's possible that was the legacy wallet. That was the wallet that maybe he took a sailor approach and he's like, do you know what? I'm never going to sell this 1 million. It's going to be a part of the legacy, and it creates a lot of talk and news stories, and it's actually good for marketing. It's possible that it is him, okay? It's possible that it is him. He did come out recently and say he's pushing pushing for Bitcoin quantum resistant upgrades to be optional. Okay, letting users voluntarily migrate to quantum safe addresses rather than forcing it network wide. Now, that is something that you would see if Adam was Satoshi, right? He wouldn't want to have his 1 million BTC frozen. Let's say they go ahead and approve to freeze these wallets, Satoshi's wallets. We're going to see one of two things. Either Satoshi's going to move his coins, okay, so we're going to see the coins being moved, or they're going to get frozen. Okay, so those are the two solutions, two outcomes that we're going to see. Now, if they move, Bitcoin's price is going to absolutely crash. As soon as they start to move, it's going to crash because everyone's going to think they're going to sell. There will already be automated sell triggers in smart contracts that are designed to short the market and sell as soon as those coins are ever moved, right? And I'm going to set up a smart alert myself in my Discord group. So as soon as they're moved, it's going to post up in our channels as an alert saying Satoshi's Bitcoin has just moved, and it's, you know, for the first time in history. And that's an easy way to probably turn 10K into $1 million. And I'll be looking to do that as soon as possible. I don't know if I'm able to set up an automatic trade where it automatically goes short on 10K on 100x leverage, because that's the kind of trade I'd be looking for. I literally go 10K, 100x leverage short as soon as possible, and would probably be a lot of money within the first few minutes, right? And you could even take out your initial 10K probably within 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Not financial advice, that's just my prediction of what would happen if those coins were ever moved, because it's $76 billion and it would create a lot of panic. And the initial thoughts of that would be, oh, either he's about to sell or it's been hacked, right? So there would be a lot of quantum fears as well that someone has managed to hack Satoshi's wallet and they're about to dump it on the market, which would create huge panic. You might even see, it might even be warranted for Sailor to sell some Bitcoin in that situation, right? And they might even de-risk as well in that situation. So that's the option. Now, let's say Adam Back is Satoshi and he's lost his seed phrase. Okay, so let's say he's lost his seed phrase, and which is quite possible because it was a very long time ago and maybe he had it on an old computer. I don't know, right? Maybe he's lost it. Now, if that is the case, he actually would want what he's saying here, what he's suggesting. He would want this because it means that he would need quantum to access his Bitcoin. And he would want it to be voluntary. He would not want that wallet to be frozen. He would want it to be voluntary so that when quantum arrives, he can actually go to the quantum companies and say, hey, I'll give you $1 billion. I want to access my $71 billion. I am Satoshi. Here's the proof. Here's all the old evidence of when I was building it, creating it. Here's all the logs and the emails, etc. But I did lose my seed phrase, or whatever. It got lost. It got destroyed on a computer or an old hard drive. So that is possible, and he actually would want quantum to arrive, and then he would want access via quantum, and he would not want his coins to be frozen. So it's possible, and Charles actually believes that he is Satoshi, or he said there's a high chance that it is Satoshi in this interview with Lex here.
Who do you think is Satoshi Nakamoto? Is it possible that you are, in fact, Satoshi Nakamoto?
No. If you have a preponderance of the evidence, I think the most likely candidate would be Adam Back. It's the Occam's razor candidate, and mostly because he's the right place, right time, right age, right skill set. If you look at the design of Bitcoin, the types of decisions, like the use of Forth, the scripting language, that was pretty common in English and European pedagogy in the 1980s and 1990s as like an example language for a stack-based assembly, and like little stuff like that, little quirks like that. Also, he created Hashcash, which was the predecessor of proof of work. He just kind of got a chip on his shoulder that Microsoft never did anything with it. So he's probably looking for something. He grew up with all the cypherpunks. He knew of Hal Finney. The initial code for Bitcoin was developed, it looked like on a Windows machine. Adam worked at Microsoft, go figure. And where the hell was Adam when Satoshi was around? I don't think there was any overlap where they were both together at the same period of time.
So really interesting that Charles thinks it might be Adam Back. And then we had the 18-month investigation into the one of the main things here was the wording and the phrases and the way Satoshi was talking was very similar to the language that Adam Back uses. And they were saying it's almost impossible for it not to be him. He obviously, of course, still denies it. And why would he admit to it and just face scrutiny and all of this question and etc. And be a target, right? Be a massive target for people trying to get into his wallet. So what Charles mentioned there is this is one of the main things. Hashbit, Adam created Hashbit, which was quite similar to Bitcoin, which never picked up. And then, you have Bitcoin, right? Sorry, not Hashbit. It was called Hashcash, right? And then you had Bitcoin. It's just way too similar. It's way too similar. And it's very possible that he's Satoshi. Again, I love a conspiracy, guys. I love a conspiracy, and it's just a conspiracy for now. I do find it hard to believe that Bitcoin might not have been moved, but a more likely solution would be that he had other extra side wallets as well, and that was just a main public wallet. And hey, look, guys, I'm not going to sell any. Here's my million, but you also had another million on the side or something, right? So yeah, this is one of the stances that we talked about. A lot of people are taking this stance. I'm anti-BIP361. For those who don't know, it deprecates or freezes coins that don't move after a certain migration day for post-quantum upgrades. It's not a full confiscation of every quantum coin, but a good chunk of them. Bitcoin's primary value props best monetary policy of any money plus extremely hard to seize asset. If the protocol for any reason makes assets seizable destroyed for a change in the code, it impacts both of the value propositions. Granted, Satoshi's coins being cracked would also negatively impact the perception of seizability. However, intelligent market participants will understand that this is the lesser of two evils. For this reason, I am not for any proposal that allows these coins to be frozen. So we kind of see two different stances here. Let's talk about this and let's try and work it out. So we've got two different stances. Let's talk about this one first of all. So they're saying that the value proposition is lost. And if you freeze assets, these assets, then it kind of takes away from what it is, and people are going to say, well, I'm not going to buy it, what if my assets get frozen? Now, I don't think that's a big deal, okay? So I think if you freeze these assets, I don't think it's ever going to happen again. Guys, why are the assets being frozen? They're being frozen because entities are going to be able to steal the money, right? So it's a kind of a necessity. Are there going to be proposals and voting that gets approved to freeze random assets? I don't think so. I really don't think so. And I think it's going to be very hard to get everyone's consensus to freeze random wallets, right? Let's say someone does commit a crime or whatever, and I don't think all the mining community or the node owners are going to come together to start freezing wallets, and that's going to be very negative for the price, and they know that, okay? And I think it's going to be very hard to approve. If the consensus is, if the voting consensus is hijacked by a few entities, BlackRock, the institutions, it's going to be negative for Bitcoin in that. And so let that happen, right? If that happens, people are going to get out, they're going to make their decision. I just don't think, I can't see that happening. I can't see it becoming a regular thing where random wallets are just frozen. I think they're going to freeze these assets because they have to. They have to freeze Satoshis, all of these vulnerable tokens. And I think it's going to get support from Saylor. It's going to get a lot of support from Michael Saylor. Saylor has a huge following, a huge backing, and a lot of people will follow his word and his opinions. And of course, it's going to get a lot of support from Saylor because Saylor's all in on Bitcoin, and he can't afford for it to go down to $5,000, $10,000. Despite how amazing that would be for us in retail, there's a lot of institutions who can't afford that. There's a lot of big players who will get liquidated out of the market. Saylor might even be forced to sell some Bitcoin, and he would be at such a big loss. And then he has his STRC token, and they're leveraging that. We don't know where Saylor's liquidation level is. We don't know what would happen to his account if Bitcoin comes down to 10K. I think on a risk basis, I think the courts have said, or the paperwork says in the situation that you might not be able to pay users, you might be forced to sell. So he actually might be forced to sell if it does crash. So I kind of agree with Charles. I think Charles knows that this is going to be frozen. I think that is what's going to happen right now. Unless Q day arrives before this is all proposed and agreed to, I think there is. I think that's the outcome. I think the assets are going to get frozen, and he's saying I don't think it's a big deal. Now let's say quantum arrives. I think this might be even worse, guys. Let's say quantum arrives. Now it's personally for me, I would love to see. I would love to see cheap Bitcoin. I would love to buy Bitcoin at 5K, 10K, especially as it's going to migrate and become quantum resistant. I think it's going to be so far away from gold. Gold pushed up to 40 trillion. It might even be 100x play on a low risk basis because it has institutional adoption and support and ETFs, etc. So could be one of those generational moments where there's a hack, there's mass panic, there's mass fear, there's mass selling. Every institution's getting liquidated. Michael Saylor's forced to sell, and we could just see the price absolutely collapse, and it would be phenomenal. I'm a swing trader. I love to have cash on the side for these kind of events. And it would be a generational wealth opportunity for everyone. And also, after Q Day, it's likely that we've got no more FUD anytime soon, and the price would just go absolutely parabolic because we've finally got that uncertainty out of the way. All of the dead wallets, all of those pre-quantum wallets would have been hacked and sold off on the market. It would be a generational moment. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, it would be phenomenal, but I also think it would create a lot of fear and uncertainty because Bitcoin would have been stolen. It would have been robbed. It would have been hacked. And a lot of these people who maybe lost their wallets. There's a lot of people who have lost their wallets access, who have millions and millions of dollars. Some have billions of dollars in BTC that actually want quantum to arrive so that they can access their tokens legally, right? Because there's people who have been, like the guy who lost his Bitcoin at the scrap site, right? And he was trying to get permission to go for all the garbage at the rubbish site. Those kind of people actually really want quantum and need quantum. And also, we have to remember that that's going to be sell pressure anyway. When quantum arrives, you're going to get all of the legal claims from the people who actually own the wallets but lost the seed phrase that are going to be getting access to this quantum. So it's either way, there's going to be sell pressure. I just think if it's hacked, it's going to be an insane amount of sell pressure. It's also going to be a black mark on Bitcoin. That's right. Everyone's going to say it's the safest. And then you're going to see North Korea selling off billions of dollars. You're going to see hackers, maybe terrorists are getting hold of billions of dollars. You also, I haven't seen people talk about this a lot, but you also have to remember that what happens when we see a lot of hacks in crypto, we see a lot of money get stolen, a lot of the time it's moved into Ethereum and then it's moved through mixers. It's moved to Ethereum because it's moved through mixers, and it's a really good way for hackers to hide assets and actually take it out to cash. Once you put it through a mixer, it's almost impossible to trace, so they can actually then send it to exchanges. Usually they send it to dodgy exchanges and then transfer it out into cash or send it to other wallets, and those wallets transfer it out into cash. So yeah, it's usually moved to Ethereum. So don't forget that if Bitcoin gets hacked, you might see a lot of people buying Ethereum. So Ethereum might have a short-term pump, and then that Ethereum is going to get sold into cash, and then Ethereum should come down as well. So there could be billions and billions of dollars moving into ETH and then out of ETH in a very short amount of time, which would make ETH so volatile. So huge trades there. As well on Ethereum. It would probably be very fast as well. It would be like spiking up into cash, but over time that ETH would get sold off as well, right? So you're probably going to see ETH pump and dump. Bitcoin will likely just dump because it's going to be either swapped into ETH or it's going to be swapped into stable coins or cash to get out. So two different plays there, and there is going to be problems either way. Now, in this space and in investing in general, you usually get sell the rumor. Well, it's a sell the rumor right now because Q Day is approaching. It's a massive day, and then it will probably be a panic sell-off into buy the news, and you'll get some sort of V-shaped recovery on the way back. So beautiful setup. As a swing trader, it's an absolutely beautiful setup. We're going to have to keep an eye on the news and the proposals as it gets closer and closer. We're going to have to really keep an eye on it and stay up to date with the latest, especially the proposal day. Okay, so when that proposal is voted for, we're going to have to be on top of that and trying to understand, if it's bullish or bearish. Now, if the assets get frozen, I think it's going to be bullish. I think the assets get frozen, it's going to remove a lot of uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of institutional investors who are very happy with that. The Bitcoin supply is going to be massively reduced. So think about scarcity, right? If every millionaire in America wanted to buy one Bitcoin, there is not enough. So every millionaire in America couldn't buy one Bitcoin if they wanted. Now imagine 2 million Bitcoin get frozen, or even 1.5 million, right? It doesn't matter. It's massively reducing the amount of supply, which historically massively increases the value. And also those assets are getting frozen as well. So there's no more uncertainty about Satoshi just dumping $76 billion on the market all of a sudden because he decides that he's out, or maybe he gets some inside information and decides he wants to get out. Huge opportunity either way. Let me know what you think. Now I know there's a lot of people, don't forget, a lot of people on X are swing traders as well, and they also want to buy Bitcoin. So a lot of people want all of this pain. There's a lot of people who don't like Saylor, and they don't like that he has 4 to 5% of the supply, and they don't like the institutions, and for good reasons, right? There's a lot of manipulation from some of these institutions and entities, and they don't want them to have control, and they also get a chance to buy in. The main driving force is money. I think most people just want it to crash so they can make even more money, and they'll also be shorting, right? Short it all the way down, buy the dip. It's a fast way to make a lot of money. Who gets wrecked? Exchanges get wrecked, guys. They get wrecked. They're holding a lot. A lot of them are over leveraged. You probably see a lot of the small exchanges go into liquidation as well. So be very, very careful. Not your keys, not your crypto. If you have money on small exchanges, be very careful. You might even see some of the big exchanges go into some trouble too, especially if they're borrowing against their Bitcoin. A lot of these institutions do borrow against Bitcoin. And hey, I don't know, maybe we see some depegging in stable coins. It really could get bad. And if you're a buy the dipper, then it's absolutely amazing. What else do we have here that we need to look at? So yeah, again, a lot of people are taking this stance against freezing wallets. Their main argument is like, if they freeze these wallets, they can freeze anyone's, which was my initial stance as well. But after doing more research, it's very, very unlikely. We need to be careful that they don't grant permission. That's one thing, grant permission to these elites and institutions. Starkware CPO released a paper proposing. So there's a lot of work that's happening right now, and a lot of different options. So this is another scheme that someone's talking about to make Bitcoin transactions quantum resistant without soft forks. So this is another option. I think this is just about new transactions. I don't think this protects the old wallets. So the old wallets would still be vulnerable to an attack. And where do I see Bitcoin's price potentially going? It's really hard to predict. It's really, really hard to predict. We're in a normal bear market. I mean, Bitcoin usually comes down 60, 70% anyway, okay? So, that takes us down to the 40 to 50K range on a normal correction. You could even argue 30K, right? A normal correction, if we see what happened last cycle, would take us down to 30K. So if our normal worst bear market is 30K, where does that take us in a quantum hack with mass selling and de-risking? I think we have to remember that we do see institutional adoption, we do see TradFi adoption. I think we have also detached from TradFi a lot this cycle, mainly because of the quantum issue. I would say 5 to 10K. I would start buying at 10K. There's no doubt in my mind that I would not wait for lower. Even if it was going to go to 3 or 2, I have no problems with that. I would buy at 10K. I think in a very short amount of time, it would be back to 50K, which is a 5x. Okay, so if I put 100K in at 10K, I've already made $500,000 just by the time it gets to 50K, and I think it's going straight to 100K. It's a 10x. It's 100K to $1 million, and I think it would happen very, very fast. I think after the quantum FUD is out of the way, let's say we did get this hack. I think we really do spike very fast because we're so far away from gold, and you could argue that after Q day, Bitcoin becomes Much stronger than gold, and they're planning mining trips to go and mine gold from asteroids now, right? It's inflationary, and there's only a certain amount of supply in Bitcoin, and now it might even be getting frozen, right? Or assets might be getting wiped from quantum. So their supply is likely just going to reduce as people lose their Bitcoin, as they lose their wallets, their seed phrases. Less and less supply becomes available. Then you have people like Saylor who say they're never going to sell and they own 5% of the supply. How long before another maniac comes out and buys 5% of the supply and says they're never going to sell, right? You might get to a point where there's 20, 30% of the supply is being held by people who said they're going to hold it till they die. It's going to become very, very scarce. And even though it feels like it's been around for a very long time, after these quantum upgrades and this uncertainty is removed, I do think it goes to 1 million very fast. So imagine the price does come down to 30, 20, 10K. How insane will it sound that we were alive at this moment and it was at $1 million? So imagine in 10, 15 years time, it's at $1 million per Bitcoin. And we are telling our grandkids or our kids that, you know, we were around at this time when it was 10K, 20K, 30K. And I wish I'd have bought more. I don't want to be that guy who says, I wish I'd have bought more. And it's about understanding how early we are. We're quite fortunate, really, that we do have this FUD going on and that it does need this upgrade and that quantum is here because it gives us an opportunity of a lifetime. And again, not financial advice, guys. Anything can happen. Maybe it does go to 1K. Maybe there's a serious problem that can't be fixed. Maybe they can't upgrade it, right? It's not a risk-free situation. But no risk, no story, and that's why I'm going to be all over this personally and staying on top of it. And I do believe Bitcoin is phenomenal. It's the first time in history that we have this decentralized power that's controlled by the middleman. It's not controlled by entities. Charles will say it's controlled by BlackRock. It's not controlled by BlackRock. Yes, they are going to keep accumulating and they're going to be one of the largest holders, but it's not controlled by BlackRock. It's decentralized ledger. That's controlled by tens of thousands of nodes, and unless that side of things changes, then it's still, in my opinion, one of the greatest creations. Very unique. It's something that's very, very unique that that the governments can't control. It's one of the few things they've not been able to control. And for that reason, I think because it's just mathematics, it's not subject to greed. It's not subject to, a CEO's greed. It's not like these other protocols that have like multi-sig wallets and their social accounts get hacked and the money's taken. It's so beautiful and powerful that I'll always want to have exposure to it, even though that it does carry a lot of risks. I will always want to have exposure to it. Probably for the rest of my life. I don't see any other outcome than it doing well over time. So what do you guys think? I know a lot of you are going to want it to go to 10K, 5K. Just don't forget that after it gets hacked, you're going to have to hope that the hackers sell it off straight away. There's a chance, right? Let's say you hacked Satoshi's wallet and you got $76 billion. Well, if the price drops by 90%, it's not going to be worth $76 billion, is it? Right? It's going to be worth a few $1 billion. And I think that's important to remember. If someone hacks that wallet, maybe they don't sell, right? Maybe they bridge it to ETH, okay? Maybe they bridge it to ETH and they wait for the panic sell-off. And then maybe they just hold for 3 or 4 years for it to recover. And then we see sell pressure. That would be the downside. That would take quite a while to grow because if it gets back up to its all-time high, and that means this person ended up holding their the crypto, we're going to see that sell pressure. And it might even be on ETH, right? And not a lot of people have been talking about this. If they migrate to ETH and they run it through loads of different mixers, it might even be sitting in ETH that sees the sell pressure for 3 or 4 years. It might not even be Bitcoin. So the whole space as a whole, including the biggest projects, wherever the most liquidity is, even Solana, you might see a lot of sell pressure if it gets hacked. If it gets frozen, completely different story, right? If the assets get frozen, we might even see the price pump from that freeze day. That might be the bottom. When that vote is made to actually freeze, that might be the bottom of the quantum FUD. and assets might continue to rally there. So we need to be very cautious of that day. And we need to remember that this might take years and quantum might just turn up out of the blue. You might wake up one day and quantum is, someone bought some quantum machines and has been doing like loads of tests and are way ahead of where we expect in North Korea or anywhere else. And they might be very close to hacking it, maybe in a few months or maybe even next year, way before this is resolved. And we might see that black swan event happen overnight. That's something to be very, very cautious of. And for that reason, I think we're going to see a lack of investing until this is resolved. I don't think we're going to see huge inflows. What bank or pension fund is going to be able to take your money? And let's say, because pension funds were getting into Bitcoin, right? Which pension fund is going to say, yeah, we're going to allocate 1% of our portfolio to Bitcoin, which might be $1 billion. And we're going to allocate $1 billion. And that might drop by 90% overnight. That is out of the question for a pension fund. It's out of the question for many institutions. And will they have some exposure? Sure, sure. But just to put large amounts in, especially like the funds, it becomes way too risky, and they're going to be on the edge and top of this data with regards to quantum. They're going to be the ones to find out first when it's getting very close, and we might see the news on the charts before we actually see it in the news. So yeah, it's an exciting time. I think it's good to. I know this is quite a long video, guys, but I think it's quite important to be up to date with this because either we get hacked and we see a bottom, or we see this proposal get approved and we potentially see a bottom. I don't think the FUD that's going around with regards to this being a negative is going to look like FUD on the charts. There's a lot of people saying that, oh, if they vote to freeze assets, I'm out. I'm not going to be a part of this. This means they can freeze anyone's assets. It's the same kind of view that people were saying, oh, if they're going to hack crypto, they're going to hack the banking system first. I initially had this view, but after doing research and thinking about it, like really thinking about it, it's bullish for institutions. It's bullish for Saylor. It's bullish for uncertainty. It's bullish for BlackRock. It's reducing the supply. It's removing the fear. And I don't think they're going to care. I really don't think these institutions are going to care that these assets were frozen. I think they're actually going to like it. They're going to like that, oh, when shit hits the fan and there might be some security issues that face Bitcoin, we know that people are going to make the right decision and actually vote to freeze these assets. So I think CTO Larsson is right. And I have kind of changed my opinion on that. I selfishly would like Bitcoin to come down to 5 to 10K. I selfishly would like that because I would like to make a lot of money. But I think in the long term, freezing is going to be very bullish. And I don't think people are thinking about those assets. If they get stolen, you're going to see sell pressure for many years, many years. The last conspiracy that I wanted to talk about is, let's say they do freeze these wallets. Let's say we do freeze these wallets. How much corruption do we see from governments? How many conspiracies do we see? We see tons and tons of conspiracies, especially when it comes to money. They love money. So what happens if they freeze these wallets? Quantum arrives, and then we start to see governments come out and say, oh, we found a user has come forward who owns this wallet that's frozen. We need to unfreeze it. We're going to get access via quantum. They've provided the evidence to us that they own this crypto, and it's $1 billion worth or whatever. That's my worry, is that we see headlines, oh, anonymous user came forward and has declared that this is, and they've shown the government proof, and we see entities dipping into these wallets that are frozen. That's my main concern. And we never see the proof because this person wants to remain anonymous, right? It's almost a license to rob money from dormant or lost accounts. That really does worry me, and I hope that doesn't happen. I would like to see these wallets frozen, and that's the end of it. Again, then it's not fair to people who have genuinely lost their seed phrase and can prove that the assets are theirs. If we can publicly see, but then again, they're not publicly going to come forward, and they can argue that it puts their themselves at risk from attacks or thefts, etc. So yeah, that's the conspiracy I don't like, and I think we maybe see some of these frozen wallets get unfrozen and claimed by bad actors. or insiders or very powerful people. That's the only downside I see. Guys, if you want to join us, we made some amazing predictions this cycle. We literally kind of predicted a lot of these moves this cycle, and made some amazing trades. We came down to support here. We pushed up to the upside. We made an all-time high here, and then we broke down into the bear market. We took some trades. Here you can see where we were longing all the way up. Obviously we were taking shorts here and there, but we were taking some longs, and we took profit from our long, flipped into a short around 125k, and we've been shorting all the way down, and made a colossal amount of money. And now we're just sitting in cash. We're just waiting for the bear market bottom. And again, we're making videos like this because we need to pay attention to the bear market, right? We need to pay attention to the quantum upgrades, the quantum date, and it's been a phenomenal cycle. And the hard part now is trying to buy close to the bottom. It's not easy with this new quantum situation because it's a spanner in the works, and we don't know how it's going to play out. I think we might be able to make a decision when we see the proposal. If the proposal gets rejected to freeze wallets, we might see a continued sell-off there. If the proposal gets rejected, the outcome then is to literally wait for the hack to happen. And who the hell is going to hold billions of dollars in Bitcoin if they're sitting there waiting for the money to get hacked? Like CTO said, no one's going to buy tomorrow. Who's going to buy tomorrow? Is the post still here? I think it is. Who's going to buy tomorrow? I think I lost his post. Here it is. No one's going to buy. Who's going to buy knowing if the proposal gets rejected? Who is going to buy knowing that 34% of the supply might get hacked and the price might go down to $3,000? Are you going to buy Bitcoin at $70,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 when it might go to $3,000 any random week? Which pension fund is going to approve that? They're going to sit in the boardroom and they're going to say, yeah, we were thinking about buying at 60K, but just to let you know, there's a chance it could go to $3,000 at any moment. No one is going to do that. It's like buying a house and the estate agent says, just to let you know, there's likely going to be an earthquake in the next 3 years and there's no insurance. You're not insured on it at all. And you could lose most of the value of your property. No one in my mind is going to do that. And it could be the worst 3 years, 4 years of sideways and down if that proposal's rejected. And the bottom will literally come in when that crypto's hacked, on Q day, when the mass panic and fear comes in and everyone starts getting liquidated and everyone starts de-risking. That's when the bottom would be in. So I see two bottoms here. I either see the proposal gets approved and we bottom, and there's a lot of FUD on socials. Everyone starts taking shorts. Everyone starts selling and saying, this is the end of Bitcoin. This is not Bitcoin anymore. It's changed into something else. But the smart money in the institutions will probably go long and start buying. And that's going to be a day that I'd be interested to long, take a very big long. Or we see quantum. So it's a really nice setup because we've got two outcomes here, right? The question is, what happens after 12 months? 12 months, when 12 months passes, historically, we hit a bottom. You see this green line I've drawn here. We usually hit a bottom and we get this buy signal from the SMC bot. You see here, buy signal from the SMC bot, buy signal from the SMC bot. And then even in the previous bear market, we had a buy signal from the SMC bot. This usually marks the bottom. We don't see that buy signal just yet, but it usually happens around 12 months from the top. And the question is, what happens if we hit that 12-month buy signal and the bear market bottoms in and we're still waiting for quantum or this proposal to happen? We'll have to talk about that later. We'll have to talk about that at the time. Guys, if you want to join us, I got distracted. If you want to join us, search this bottom one. Search the bottom one, not the top one. That will take you to my page. Then click this link here, and you'll see a link to join us. And you also get this. You get this SMC bot in your own trading view. So it snaps to grid. It works on all assets. You can do it on different time frames. That was the weekly time frame. That was the monthly time frame. You can also do it on the weekly, and it gives these buy and sell signals. So if you took this trade on Ethereum, you made huge bank. If you took this trade here, you made money. If you took this trade here, you made money. If you took this trade here, you made money. If you took this buy alert, you made a lot of money. If you took this sell alert, you made a lot of money. So it's really good. Is it right all the time? Absolutely not. But it helps you snap out of the bearishness and bullishness that we see on socials all of the time, and are we going up, are we going down? A lot of the time when you're about to go up, socials is bearish, and you could argue a lot of it's manipulation. And a lot of the times when you're about to break down, everyone's bullish and there's good news everywhere. And again, when you're about to move to the upside, there's a lot of FUD, and that's why we see so many traders getting liquidated. It's really hard sometimes to trade, especially when you're in this range. I traded a lot when we're in this range, and actually hit a lot of stop losses recently. Trade in this range, it's a lot easier. This is where we started to take some shorts, and this is where we started to take some longs. So we did actually make a lot of money here. We made a lot of money here. It's a lot easier trading these moves. It's very hard when it starts to go in these sideways ranges, right? Like this. This was really hard to trade too. And I'm going to try and avoid trading these ranges and just focus on the sells, because if I had have taken 10K here, 10K here, 10K here, 10K here, 10K here, I would have made colossal amounts of money just following those weekly signals. It's really hard to wait, because sometimes you have to wait months just to get the next signal. And that's what I've been struggling with personally, but I'm always trying to level up. I'm always trying to learn from my mistakes, and that's something that I'm focusing on now. And I'm taking small trades here and there, but when we get these buy and sell signals, I'm going to start taking bigger trades with a stop loss. And I can set my stop loss just below, right? We had a buy signal here, I can set my stop loss just below. We had a sell signal here, I can set my stop loss just above. And that way I'm only risking a small amount trying to catch this big move, and I could have set my stop loss just above here, and I'm only risking a small amount again, trying to catch a big move. It also works on stocks as well. So we were looking at quantum recently on the monthly time frames, and Rigetti. So you can see here we had a buy signal down here, came back to the SMC monthly, and now it's bouncing off of that monthly level, which tends to happen a lot. Same here, we had a buy signal down here on IonQ, yellow candle, yellow topping candle up here, saying that we might come into a downtrend, and then bounced off of the monthly. Very nice bounce here, exactly off of the monthly SMC. Almost did down here as well, got quite close to the monthly correction. So when they have corrections, they tend to come back to this monthly before they springboard back to the upside. That's it for now, guys. Don't forget, drop a comment in below. What's your thoughts on this? What's your opinions on this? If you like the video, subscribe to stay up to date with the latest, because we're going to do more videos on this. Until then, I will catch you in the next one.